Hi, it's Clair Taylor from Mouse Training here. XLOOKUP is a game-changing lookup function, now available in Excel. It blows VLOOKUP out of the water. If you've ever suffered the delights of lookup formulas using VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, match and index, then you're going to love this one. XLOOKUP is currently only available in Microsoft Office 365. However, even if you can't use it, you should be aware of it. This is quite a long video. It's divided into sections, where we'll be looking at different lookup scenarios. The first one is the classic vertical lookup. This is our first example. And it's probably the most common Excel lookup task of all. A vertical lookup based on an exact match. You look down one column, make a match, and then return the corresponding value that's on the same row, but in a different column. Let's go. As you can see, in my worksheet I have a range of related values. I'm doing my European tour. On Monday, I'll be in London, and on Tuesday, I'll be in Paris. Dream on. I have the day of the week, and from that, I want to get my destination from the last column. Let's do the formula. I'll use the cell where I have entered WED as my lookup value, and do the formula next to it. The first job is to find out if you have XLOOKUP. Type an equals sign into the cell and then enter XL. If XLOOKUP pops up, then you're good to go. If not, then it's boo-hoo-hoo. You have an earlier version of Excel and it's just not available. You'll have to pass on this one. Maybe you would like to see my video on VLOOKUP. Press the Tab key to accept the function, and we'll fill out the different arguments. Lookup value is B9, where you have WED. Then enter a comma. Lookup array is the days of the week. Then comma. Return array is the range with the cities. Press enter and check out the result. WED is Rome. Fantastic! How easy was that? If you're used to VLOOKUP, you'll be feeling cheated. Where's my false? Why didn't I have to count the columns? I don't know about you, but I really don't miss it. Welcome to the world of XLOOKUP. This is what lookup functions should always have been. Let's change the day of the week. Mon is London. Fry is Madrid. Let's type fry with a space on the end. You'll see we get an error. That's because it's not an exact match. The spelling is different. We'll be dealing with that in our next example. An exact match is the default setting for XLOOKUP. The lookup value has to match an item in the lookup array. Often, there are misspellings or variations in the text. Even something as minor as a space in the wrong place will cause a mismatch. Let's see how to deal with them. I'm going to look up the value in cell B9. Clearly, it's not going to work. Because the entry is spelled as WID, and the value in the lookup array is WED. We enter the formula. And get the dreaded not available error. Nah. I'll correct the spelling of the lookup value. And the formula works. Now, I'll enter a space character at the end of the text. Again, an error. Any mismatch will cause an error in the exact match lookup. We can't make the error go away, but we can handle it using the optional, if not found, argument in XLOOKUP. Let's edit the formula. Enter another comma at the end to access the fourth argument. A text entry is required, so make sure that whatever you enter is enclosed in quotation marks. We'll enter the text, "not found." You can have any text you like. The lookup formula does not work, but you do not see the ugly error value. There is no need to complicate XLOOKUP formulas with other functions, like if error, as you have to with VLOOKUP. Should you want your lookup formula to allow for variations in the text, then you can use wildcards. Be patient, wildcards are coming up in a later section. In the previous lookup formulas, we were matching values in the leftmost column and returning values from a column over to the right. Let's see what happens when the return array column is over to the left. Here my worksheet has a different layout. The days of the week column is the last one on the right. And my cities column is column B, which is over to the left. I want to look up the value for Thursday. I'll enter my XLOOKUP formula as usual. And you'll see we get the right result straight away. Berlin. Fantastic! This is just one of the things I love about XLOOKUP. There's no leftmost constraint. The lookup array and the return array can be in any order. This is very different to VLOOKUP, where you either had to change the layout of the worksheet or resort to match and index formulas. That's all in the past. It's another great result for XLOOKUP. We saw how easy and painless it is to look up over to the left. And, in this next example, we shall see how to do a horizontal lookup. Not all lookups are vertical. I wonder if XLOOKUP will cope. What do you think? In this example, we can see that the rows and columns, in the range of cell values, has been transposed. And the different classes of data read across, rather than down. The row with the days of the week is the first row, the next row is the country, and the cities are in the third row. We need to look up the city for Monday. We'll enter our formula as usual. Equals XL, then tab. Click the Monday cell. And then the lookup array is the top row. And the return array is the row with the cities. Press enter and we get the result. Monday is London. Let's change the day of the week to get the other cities. That's so easy. Another great result for XLOOKUP. Not only can the arrays be in any order, as we've just seen, but they can also have either a vertical or a horizontal orientation. Although both of the lookup and return arrays must be either horizontal or vertical, you can't mix them. You certainly don't need VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP anymore. You only need XLOOKUP. The only real constraint you have is that both the arrays must be of equal dimension. Watch me make quite a deliberate blunder. I'll delete and do my formula again. Can you see that the range for the lookup array is short of the return array? This time we get an error. We're now about halfway through the XLOOKUP propaganda session. Stay with me, there's plenty more good stuff to come. So far, all our lookups have been exact matches. Now, we're going to look at the other type of lookup, the approximate match. This is the one you need when you don't actually have any exact matches. In this worksheet, we have our students listed in column E. Yes, it's the usual suspects. I've had them take a test and listed their scores, out of 100, in column F. We need to fill in column G with their grade. The grade table is shown in columns B and C. The way the grades work is like this: anywhere between 0 but less than 40 is a fail. Anywhere between 40 but less than 60 is a pass. 60 but less than 80 is a credit. And 80 or more is a distinction. None of the scores in column F match any of the numbers in column B. So, an exact match is useless. Let's get marking. We'll do Tom's score of 23. Enter the XLOOKUP. Lookup value is the score. Lookup array is the first column in the grade table. Return array is the second. And now, hold your horses, we need more commas. Go on to the fifth argument, the match mode. We need -1, the exact match or next smaller item option. That's it. Press enter and Tom's grade is fail. He scored 23. We don't have an exact match, but 23 is inside the first band. Fantastic! The approximate match is a nice, easy way of doing quite a sophisticated calculation. We are testing to see if a value is within a specific range with upper and lower boundaries. Let's copy the formula down to do the others. Oh no! A disaster! Don't worry. It's not the formula, it's the cell ranges. Can you see how the two lookup ranges are changing when they're copied down? That's no good. Those ranges need to be kept constant to support the calculations. They'll need fixing. Back into the first formula. We need some dollar signs. Select both of the ranges and press the F4 function key. There's your dollar signs, and we'll copy down again. Now the corrected formulas show the right grades. The approximate match lookup is invaluable for so many different accounting and tax type of calculations. You'll probably find it just as useful as the exact match. In this session, we're going to take a closer look. Our first investigation is to see whether XLOOKUP will look to the left in the lookup table. I think we can predict the result. You will see that I've swapped the order of the columns in the grade table. Let's calculate the grades again. Lookup value. Lookup array. Return array, commas and -1 for match mode. Don't forget the dollar signs. And copy down. No problem with that. We used to do this type of lookup formula using the old VLOOKUP function. That one would not refer to the left. And the order of the numerical values always had to be sorted in strict ascending order. That's the order that I have here, with the numbers starting from 0. Let's change the sort order to descending. There's no change to the results. Fantastic! Let's go back to the original order. And now we're going to see exactly how the lookup works. Tom scored 23 and failed. Let's change that to 39. It's still a fail, because it's under the threshold of 40. Let's enter the score as 40. It's a pass. 45 is a pass. 65 is a credit. Perfect. Let's look at Wilma. She scored 82 and got a distinction. Let's try 100. Still a distinction. What about 2,500? A distinction. That's what you should expect. Anything over the highest value returns the highest lookup value. And now, we'll look at Dino. Dino scored 8 and failed. What would happen with a negative score? Let's enter -12. An error. Again, that's what you should expect. Anything under the lowest value returns an error. Rather different to when you're over the highest value. This is where you should consider using the "if not found" argument to handle the error. Here's the very last bit on the approximate match. You'll remember that we entered the match mode as -1. The exact match or next smaller item option. There was also an option for exact match or next larger item, +1. Let's see the difference. I'll do a copy and paste values to keep our current results. So we can compare them to the new ones. Let's change the formula. Into the first one. Over to the match mode argument. And change it to exact match or next larger item. And copy down. Can you see the difference? Everything has moved up into the next class. And, this time, the over-limit value gets the error. We've been copying our lookup formula down the column. That's because we've been calculating several lookups, but all from the same column. Sometimes, you want to do a lookup formula and retrieve values from several different columns. And that is where you need one formula to return multiple values. XLOOKUP is a new type of Excel function. It's a dynamic array function. Excited? Let's take a look. In my worksheet, I have a dataset in columns A to E. And I want to enter my transaction number in cell G2, and have the 4 cells over to the right display the details for that particular transaction. I'll create a validation list in G2, to make it easy to select the transaction number. So, it's Data tab, and Data Validation. Then, Allow List. And the source is column A. Perfect. Now, it's a breeze to change the transaction number. Let's do the lookup formula in the next cell. As usual, XLOOKUP. The value is the transaction number. The lookup array is column A. And the return array is the other 4 columns. Press Enter and see your results. You've got the values from all 4 columns. With only one formula. Amazing! Let's do a few more lookups. The columns have to be in the same order. But, count your blessings, we did not have to do 4 separate lookup formulas. Only one dynamic array formula is required to return an array of results. When you click one of the results cells, you will see a line is displayed around the range. This is known as a spill range. Click the first formula cell, and you'll see the formula in the formula bar. Click one of the others and you'll see the formula is there, but grayed out. Be careful not to block the spill range, or you'll get a spill error. Let me demonstrate. I'll make an entry in one of the columns. Now, we get the error. Leave your spill range clear. In the last example, the results were returned from the table. and displayed reading across, the same as they are in the table. Let's see how to return the results vertically. You'll see that I've got the headings reading down. And I want the lookup results in the next column. I'll do the formula for the first cell. And the results are reading across to the right. That's no good. I want them reading down. Don't bother doing 4 separate lookup formulas. All you have to do is manipulate the returned array using the transpose function. Just go back into the formula and wrap the transpose function around it. Enter transpose at the start, an opening bracket. Close brackets at the end and enter. Done. It's as easy as that. I'll amuse myself by doing a few lookups. And I'll dream about doing several VLOOKUPs and changing the column index number for each one. Tee-hee-hee. In our next example, we are going to see how to do an intersection. This is often known as a two-way lookup, where you have two changing variables. In my worksheet, I have numbers analyzed with both row and column descriptions. It's a basic cross-tabulation. We've seen so many spreadsheets or pivot tables just like this. We want to look up a specific combination of country and product, like France and soap, and return the value where they intersect. The concept is simple, but the implementation can be tricky. Before we had XLOOKUP, we had to use various combinations of VLOOKUP, match and index, to achieve the end result. We can now do this with XLOOKUP, but we'll need two of them. One inside the other. Let's get to work. I have France and soap entered as my lookup values. I have my drop-downs already done. You can do the lookups in either order. I'll do the country first, then the product. Enter the XLOOKUP. First lookup value is France. And lookup array is the range with the country values. Then the comma. And XLOOKUP again. The second lookup value is the product, soap. The second lookup array is the range with the product values. The return array are the numbers in the body of the table. Two brackets to close. And done. There's the value for France and soap. Just to prove the point, I'll delete that formula and do it again, but the other way round. Enter the XLOOKUP. First lookup value is soap. The lookup array is the range with the product values. Then the comma. Then XLOOKUP again. The second lookup value is the country. The second lookup array is the range with the country values. The return array are the numbers in the body of the table. And two brackets to close. Same result. I'll change the country and product values a few times. It's not the easiest formula in the world. But it's a lot easier than it used to be. We saw how the XLOOKUP, if not found argument, can handle the not available error. But it only handles the error. The lookup formula does not return useful data when there is a mismatch. Unfortunately, in the real world, we often need to deal with imprecise or variable text entries and still have our lookups working. This is where you need wildcards. The two most useful Excel wildcard characters are the asterisk, or star, and the question mark. I'll say star in this session. Saying asterisk makes my teeth whistle. The star represents any number of unknown characters. And the question mark represents any single unknown character. In my worksheet, I want to look up the score and grade for someone in the main table in columns A, B and C. XLOOKUP as usual. Lookup value. Lookup array. And return array. Done. Change the name Tom to Tim. Error. Change the name back to Tom, but with a space on the end. Error. The mismatch is either quite obvious, but it's just as likely to be something you can't see. Like having space characters on the end. Let's use some wildcards. Back into the formula. Keep entering commas until you get to match mode, and choose number 2, wildcard character match. And change the lookup value by entering a star on the end of Tom. Now the lookup is working. Try a few more. Enter the lookup value as W star. You get the values for Wilma, she's the only name that starts with W. Enter the lookup value as DI star. You get the values for Dick. Dino also starts with the same letters, but Dick is the first match. Enter the lookup value as Tim. And you get an error. Change the value to T, M. And you get the values for Tom. This works for Tom, Tim, Tam or whatever the second character might be. Enter the text in the table as Tiny Tim. And change the lookup value by placing stars before and after the existing entry. We are now matching any text that contains a 3-character sequence, starting with T and ending with an M. I think we've got the general idea. If you know that your lookup values are likely to have spaces on the end, then you can allow for them in your formula. This is quite a common problem. It's caused either by someone having the habit of pressing the spacebar after they type a text entry into an Excel cell, or by having source data that's been extracted from a database, where the text is entered into a fixed length field. It's called padding. I call it space invaders. It's really annoying, because it destroys your lookup formulas. Firstly, let's enter some spaces on the end of the text in column A. That data is now corrupted, but you can't see that it is. And now, we'll change the XLOOKUP formula by concatenating a star, enclosed in quotation marks, onto the end of the lookup value. We'll need an ampersand, quotes and a star. Formula magic. Let's look up Fred. And then Dino. Both have spaces on the end, but the lookup is good. Here's the formula again. This is our last example, and we're going to see how to change the search mode, which is the last of the optional arguments. By default, XLOOKUP will always start matching from the first data value. So, if you're searching down a column, it starts from the top. We want to reverse this, so that the search starts from the last value. In my worksheet, I have a list of transactions for my different cities in column B, with the transaction date in column E and the list sorted in date order. There are multiple transactions for each city, and I want to look up both the earliest and latest dates for any particular city. In this case, it's Bremen, which I've entered under the heading in column G. Let's do our formulas. Starting with the earliest date, it's XL. And then the tab key, and we'll fill out the arguments. It's G2 for Bremen. And then column B for the lookup array. And column E for the return array. And then, we need some comma separators to show that we're filling in the search mode argument. It's a 1, because this is the first value, the earliest date. Press enter and we get our result. All we need to do next is format the cell to show the value as a date. I'll go for short date. A quick visual check to see if the result is accurate. It's good. And now, we'll repeat the process for the latest date. Exactly the same as before. But this time we enter the search mode value as -1. To search from the last value. And we get the latest date. And, again, short date format. Now, we'll change the city to Seville. And check that the earliest date is correct. Now you've got your dates, you can do whatever you want with them. I'll just calculate the difference between the two, using a simple formula. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed the demonstration. XLOOKUP is an amazing function. Everyone I talk to just raves about it. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. And click the subscribe button below. Do get in touch if you want any help with your XLOOKUP formulas. Maybe you would like to arrange a training course for yourself or for some of your colleagues. XLOOKUP is just one of the new dynamic array functions. Mouse Training is running a dedicated training course if you want to discover how these functions are completely changing the way we do data analysis in Excel. Follow the link below to see the full course outline. You can drop me a line or phone me on the number shown here. And, don't forget, we can always tailor any training course to suit your own specific requirements. And for now, it's a goodbye from me. Hope to see you again soon. Bye.